I'm an ENTJ personality who keeps a small circle of friends.
I'm an ENFJ personality with a squad, a crew, a clique, and my girls.
I'm Dr. B. Cooper.
I'm Toyi Elizabeth.
And we're new friends.
There are no such things as strengths and weaknesses, right?
Interesting.
You don't have strengths and weaknesses. Now, these are like, okay, strengths and weaknesses, whatever.
They're separated.
But as people, we don't have strengths and weaknesses. We merely have traits. We are who we are.
Yeah.
And our job is to align those traits into situations where they play to strength.
I agree with that.
So I'm extremely talkative. I've always been talkative and personable and whatever. And my first job was at the public library. Girl, can I tell the librarian was always telling me,
Can I just tell you, my first job was also at the library.
Was it?
It wasn't
really?
at the public library. It was in my school library.
I was like, oh, yours was at a fancy library.
No, it wasn't. I mean, I did eventually work for the big library in the city, but my first job was, and I was in the 5th grade. I was working in the school library.
Library of Congress?
No. Not
okay, but you did work in libraries, so see, we both we both love books.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I joke on you because you really love books, but I joke about that. But we both do love to read and we love books, so that's interesting. We both, yes, that was my first job, was at the library,
and you had to be quiet,
and I did, and it did not work out. But it worked very well as a cheerleader. It worked very well as a speaker. Yes. So I try to not be in situations where it's not meant for me to talk, because talking is my trait.
Yes.
It was a weakness at the library. So I had to move that, so I think that's our job. I think that we just have traits. God gave us traits.
That's
God didn't give us weaknesses.
Come on.
God gave us traits. And if you are in a situation where your trait isn't strong for you, isn't working for you, then you need to realign yourself to a situation where that works.
I agree.
I would love to talk to comedians who, knew that they were funny forever. I'm sure that their teachers had a lot to say. I'm sure they were disruptive and whatever else, but they've gone on to be whatever they have because the trait doesn't work well in the classroom.
That's right.
But it works great on a stage. That's one of the things about even raising kids, that you look and see them and then you try to, don't break them. Don't break the thing that God gave them. Just try to align it into something else. Because I generally hang around people who are strong.
Right.
Strong in their identity. Not strong, whatever, but in their identities. And we've talked about this before, is because I am so good with who I am that you have to be good.
Right.
If not, you're not going to rock with me. And it used to hurt my feelings. It did. It used to hurt. As broken as I was and all the things I went through as a child, once I found my voice and found myself and find my authenticity, I stand on it like a rock. And it bothers people. Everybody's looking for, a chink in the armor, or, when is she going to break? And it's not happening.
Yeah.
First of all, I stand on Jesus.
All right.
And so even on my bad days, I still have hope. And that gets on people's nerves, girl.
Yeah.
I get on people's nerves. I do.
Well, first of all, I just want to say, I'm gonna rock with you.
What's the rest of it? I was like, where's the rest of it?
I just you said rock with you. I just thought about that.
Yeah.
But, and of course, solid as a rock.
How'd you do it? You did the echo too.
I know. But no, back to what you were saying before, because it said here, sometimes I remember when I first met you, you were like, girl, I can be too much. What was the word they used there?
Intense.
Intense.
Yeah. When it comes to self-improvement, protagonists are rarely short on energy or determination.
Yes.
But they may not recognize that not everyone shares these qualities. At times, protagonists may push others to make changes that they aren't ready for or simply aren't interested in making in the first place.
Well, I find that characteristic trait to be invigorating for me, because I don't know if it's going to say that somewhere in there, but I like to be around people who are, I hate to say at my level, because I don't know how that comes across, but maybe
terrible.
Like same kind of drive, same kind of energy, same kind of thought process about the world, or higher for me, right? I like to either the same or higher. And because I'm always, as it says there, I'm always reaching for the next thing. And probably the biggest enemy that I have is boredom, right? And I too am a talker, and I wanted to go back to that for a minute because I like what you said.
I'm glad because I switched because we gotta go back to you. I'm like, get off of me. Let's go back to you.
Well, I think we're figuring it out, but I like that you. So one of the things when I was young, I used to always lament that I talk too much. Right. I know. I want y'all to count the big words, and they not coming from me.
Go ahead.
I used to lament the fact that because I would get it in my report cards. Remember those report cards? The teachers I was talking too much. That she can't concentrate because she's talking to whatever. And it took me a while. I don't know when you figured out I got to align myself, maybe as you get closer to Jesus, but it took me a while to realize, wait a minute, this is not by happenstance. Like I didn't create me. And the fact that I want to talk, knowing that my motivation is not to overtalk or to sound smarter than everybody else. It's simply to be engaged, connect. I was like, maybe this is just who I am, and I have to find out who can rock with that.
That's right.
And my husband, when I met him, I mean, we won't talk about that long, but we connected immediately. And what I realized is that, it wasn't that I was such a bad person and I couldn't figure relationships out. I was not realizing who was receiving me and that I could continue with them because they're already starting off with, I think this is absolutely wonderful. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it took me a while to realize it's okay if people think you're wonderful when you meet them. Maybe those are the people you need to be around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Except for me. So I will say this, like when you meet someone, like you said, if you meet someone and they think you're wonderful, like you lean into that and that's who you need to be around. Yeah. I have had this extraordinary experience in my life that, the first impression for someone who's not good with themselves, they might not like me at first. Like I have friends that oversplain me. Right. They oversplain me to others and they'll say, you just have to get to know her.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because you do that about me, but go ahead.
I do because people just have to get to know you. And so therefore, I won't write people off if they don't like me right away. I won't. If it's someone who's interesting to me and I'm interested in, I will lean in. And some of my best friends in life that I've had for years were people who didn't like me at first. And I think because people judge people based on how they show up, right? And so if I show up, like you mentioned me with the drum, the extra. So if I show up with the, fully muted, elevated, casual with my Louis Vuitton, all the things, then it triggers something in them to the last person that may not have been a nice person that was that way, right? It takes them back to the schoolyard bully or whatever. Right. And I think people expect me to be a mean girl. I've heard that before. One of my really good friends, I never forget, she told me, I had walked into a room to present, we worked together. And she said, I thought, oh, here comes this Barbie. And she said, and then you presented. And I was like, oh no, wow, she's smart. Wow. And that happens a lot that people, so they have to get to know you. So we've talked about this before. I give people a much longer runway than you do.
I do.
Because you not about that life. You are not about
I am not about that life. But I mean, you talked about it once before. I'll get through it. But I don't know. I didn't see that when I saw you, but I do understand it, right? I mean, we talked about roles in, friendships. There are also roles in life, and people who look a certain way, folks expect certain things, like, oh, you look this way, so you must be that way. And for me, it's always interesting to me because my cousins, I come from a family of beauticians, like literally. And I was not the glamorous one.
That's why your hair is so beautiful. That's why your hair always on point. I didn't know this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just learning today. This is why you look like this. Okay, great.
I did come from a family. But the funny thing is I'm not the glamorous one of my family at all. Really? No, I'm not. I am. So what people thought of me is because I was so into school, I was the academic. That was my role. Right. I wasn't into makeup. I wasn't into hair, which is why I'm natural. I mean, it's beautiful. People say it's beautiful now, and I laugh because growing up, when I always wanted to be natural, and my aunts always wanted to put relaxers in my hair, and I was like, ma'am. And so they were like, oh, that's a phase. They said my real hair was a phase.
I can't.
And now here I am in all my real hair glory. But I was always seen as the thinking one. And
Because
when
you're ENTJ.
you know, people see me differently outside of that, as which I hesitate to say, like, she a little glamorous. I'm like, me, right? Because that was not the persona that I had, or at least the personality that I had in my family. But my family saw me as somebody who was reading all the time. And let me put these glasses on. Girl, I put the glasses on. People think I'm just a bookworm for real. Like, all I do is read. I know, but I do more than read. I dance.
You do.
I sing.
I want to say something on the natural hair tip, just because you said it, because I just
yeah.
had this experience the other day where I was in a group of people and someone made the comment, and all of us but one has natural hair. Y'all, this is my natural hair.
Natural, 100%.
For the 1,000th time in my life. This is my natural hair. So it was funny because she, you know, she wasn't as sisterly as I would want her to be. And so she threw that little bit of shade that there was probably 6 or 7 of us. And she was like, and we all but one have natural hair. And I was like, who? Because when I looked down, I saw everybody's natural hair. Nobody's hair looked like mine, but everybody had natural. Some people had locks, people had updos and whatever. And I was like, oh, my hair is natural too.
You figured out it was you that she was talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you what I did learn being in a family full of beauticians. Look at the roots.
Yes. Look
That's
at
all you have to do.
I have a girlfriend that always says I have hair like Meghan Markle. She was like, y'all edges.
Right, you don't even need to do the swirl.
Edges.
The swirl just grows in like that.
Look at the edges. She was like, look at them edges.
But one day we'll talk about natural hair. We'll do that because I do
Yeah.
think it's a good discussion. Because when people think of natural hair, when they're like, oh, the brothers love natural hair, what some women think that means is if it looks like this, right? And then they feel some kind of way when it looks like this, because I actually embrace the word nappy. My hair is very nappy.
I hate the word
nappy. I don't.
I think that came from white people. Like,
it probably
that's what
did.
They said. Like, it's not.
It probably
it's not
did.
nappy. Like, I hate that.
I know, but when I take it, I'm taking it to say you can call it whatever you want to, because I've always loved my hair, and I was almost my family almost tried to make me not. You know, so we'll talk about that another time, because
that's a whole different show.
Girl, that is a whole episode.
Yeah, that's a whole different show. Okay, so can we get back to your I want to just read the commander and all of your energetic, right, is one of your strengths. Rather than finding this process taxing, commanders are energized by it, genuinely enjoying leading their teams forward as they implement their plans and goals. That's true. Yeah, you're a professor. Like, you stand up and you teach the people. You know what I mean? And so seriously, like you command the classroom, right? And you command your staff and all those things. And so that makes a lot of sense. And you're energized by it. Where I, at the end of the day of leading, have to come home and take a nap.
But it said that you're super empathetic.
I am.
And I'm thinking about when we had that discussion about you going to pick up your friend. And I was like, girl. But I mean, I know that may not seem like empathy. I read it as empathy because you put yourself in her position and said, what would I want somebody to do thinking about me as a friend? I would want them to come drive 2 hours and pick me up. I don't go there. But I do appreciate that about you, because one of the things we were talking about the percentages is that I love what we have together. And I also am intrigued and attracted to what we don't share.
Me too.
Right. So that empathetic piece, that would make me tired. Right. So the energy that I have standing in front of and commanding an audience and then just walking away, that energy you utilize when you're being super empathetic for someone, and that sends you to the bed to sleep for a couple of hours because you like, I expended a lot of energy doing that, but I admire that.
But it is how I show my love too, right? I want to show up for my friends, and so I want to show love. It's interesting because just yesterday, my really good girlfriends, one of my best girlfriends, she's out of town, so she needed me to pick. Why do you look like that? I said it was one of my best girlfriends, and did you see the look on her face? She didn't like that. You're one of my best girlfriends too.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, she is out of town. She wanted me to go pick up something from her house, and she lives far from me because I hate to drive.
Like how many hours?
Like, no, not hours. Like about 25 minutes.
Okay.
Right. But I was driving over there, and I felt a sense of satisfaction that I could show up for my friend. I promise you. It meant nice. It was the simplest thing ever. And I could have asked someone else to do it for me, but I really wanted to do it for her because I wanted to show up for her. And my friends know me. They know I hate to drive. They know
you hate to drive. You hate to talk on the phone.
Yes.
What do you like to do?
Read my Bible, lay up with my husband.
That's what I'm talking about.
And watch TV.
That's what's
and I love to write and eat and do all other things. Yeah. But that was important to me, right? The other thing about this empathetic thing is like when it comes to spiritual gifts, I do have the gift of mercy, which is the gift to be able to literally feel what other people feel. It is an empathic ability. I've had to go to special, doctors, psychologists to help me to discern that. There are doctors who specialize in dealing with like empaths. And so I could decide what's my true feeling, right? And what am I feeling from these other people?
Right.
So it's hard. Funerals are, I don't generally go to a funeral unless it's someone very, very close to me, because when I'm at the funeral, I feel the emotions of everybody in the room. And so people would be like, why is she over there? She barely knows this woman. Why is she crying like that? And I'm like, girl, it's a lot.
And look, okay, just to give you the opposite of that, I'm at a funeral well, first of all, I'm not at a funeral if I don't know you. And it's not because I'm empathetic. It's because I don't know you. And if I didn't like you when you were alive, why am I at your funeral?
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't disagree with not going to a funeral if you don't like someone.
But if I'm there and you're doing that, I'm like, it's not.
You're gonna be like, I mean, I'm not a jump in the casket, but
oh no, I know,
and particularly if it's someone that, like I said, I don't really know them that well, but I'm sad because all the other people are sad.
I appreciate that.
How did we get back on mine again? No,
because I'm humble too. Here. Did they say humble?
It says actually arrogant is what it says. It says arrogant.
I heard
Commander. Humble. You heard it wrong. Commander personalities respect quick thoughts and firm convictions, their own qualities, and look down on those who don't match up. This relationship is a challenge for most other personality types who are perhaps more timid in their own right, but will seem so beside overbearing commanders.
Wow, overbearing?
Can I? Because this is about the vineyard.
What happened at the vineyard?
Don't you remember the vineyard?
I remember drinking and eating and sitting on your big blanket. I was like one of two.
Do you remember
people.
Getting in my girlfriend's business?
Oh, I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
Okay. You have a better memory than me. I think I said that before.
Do. Yeah. So I can see where people would consider you overbearing because you can get because you are.
This feels like one of those shows where you already thought about how you're gonna zing me, and then I'm surprised.
No, but it just came up right here, so that's why. Because I got a quick thought process. But no, I can see where
you do.
I could see where people would think that you are overbearing because you are so friendly and forward and confident, right? So if I were to walk in here and say, oh, I'm a little hungry. Well, girl, why didn't you eat? You need to eat because you know you need to eat. Your body requires you to eat. Yes, I don't know why you didn't eat. Let me see. Now, you're so loving. You're going to go in there and make me you made me a sandwich, whatever. But you're going to like share your opinion on me eating. You didn't give me an opportunity to say, I'm fasting or I'm not eating because I'm standing in solidarity with, like, you won't even let, like, so yeah.
I would love to see how that's connected to the vineyard though, because
you did that to my friend.
Well, I would like to correct that a little bit because she was not fasting and neither.
Yeah.
We're going to extend that metaphor. She was not fasting. She was lamenting.
Was she? I don't know that she was.
Maybe, but basically what go ahead. What are you going to say?
So The next point,
Mm-hmm.
I think, illustrates what I'm trying to say.
Okay, let's go for it.
And that is poor handling of emotions.
Oh, man.
So,
okay, I can own that.
You are not, so like you said, you're not really emotional into people's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know if someone's lamenting or fasting or not, because for you, it's not even a thing. It's not even a thing.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with that. I do agree that I don't know, and that I attribute things to what people say. Like, oh, if you're doing this, then it must mean that. And also, if I feel it, I have noticed that I'm really into relationships now, right?
Mm.
And this is my second marriage. And in between my first and second marriages is about 8 years. And so for 8 years, I probably responded much differently to anything that had to do with relationships. Now I meet somebody, they could be breathing next to somebody and be like, y'all together? What y'all? And I'm imposing that upon pretty much every couple that I meet. I find it my mission to tell them what I did in order to get in a situation that's so amazing and great. For me, it's really about me thinking I'm helping out. But to your point, I don't pause long enough to see if people really wanted that help. Yeah. So I what I'm saying is that I think that it's coming from a really good place.
I would agree.
But I do understand. The older I get, I actually understand more and more how people could be like, this is not your business. Because I am not easily embarrassed, though it doesn't stop, right? So I don't know if that's the arrogance, because if you're like, well, you're wrong, I'm like, well, okay, right? I don't know.